This is World Comics Review. So then, January 16th, 2022. That was a bit of a weird day, wasn't it? I meant to get up about 5 in the morning, but actually got up about 8:30. I put on YouTube, and the live news channels and earthquake monitors are all full of tsunami warnings, even though I didn't feel an earthquake. I put on the TV and I found out it was because there was a volcano thousands of miles away, and Osaka wasn't included in the warnings. Luckily it seems like the only damage to Japan was a few small unmanned fishing boats in Kochi that went down. Anyway, after a pretty lazy morning catching up on Phil Harbottle's YouTube channel called 1950s British Science Fiction, which is highly recommended by the way, it was time to head out for this. The Utakata Retro-shi, or Utakata Retro City, a sale held in a big public building near Yodoyabashi in Osaka. And I went up there confidently expecting to come out of exit 18. As the leaflet says, only to find, with depressing inevitability, that the station doesn't have 18 exits. So I ended up coming out of exit 11 onto Mido Tsuji. Luckily I already know roughly where the building is, so I was able to do it by eye once I got to the river, and check my direction anyway. I went down into the subway just to avoid waiting for a traffic light in the cold, and remembered that the subway Yodoyabashi station connects directly to the Keihan Yodoyabashi station, which does have an exit 18, so I walked a long way underground past an alarming number of closed exits, but luckily exit 18 was open. Now I was on the right track and I could see the building. So it was time to blue a pocket full of tin on some cool old manga. Also, just after shooting this, I saw some right weirdos with brightly coloured hair, which in Japan is still cool and not a warning, and all sorts of otaku-ish patches and badges on their jackets, so I knew I was in the right place anyway. Anyway, I went in there and it turned out you have to pay 300 yen to get into the sale, and there was only about 10 little car boot-like stalls in there, selling stuff you can buy in Mandarake any day of the week, and it wasn't much cheaper either, so that was a bit of a disappointment. I didn't buy anything and left after about 10 minutes. Still, nice building, eh? I got the subway back and decided to stop off at Tsuruhashi for a quick poke about in a bookshop under the railway near there. So that shop's my main source for North Korean books, although he hardly has a lot, and most of the ones he does have are factual stuff about how many tractors they made in 1974 and so on. But he gets some new stock in now and then, and even records on occasion. And this time I happened to stumble upon something of a holy grail for comic collectors. The really weird comic collectors anyway. And here it is. This is Great General Mighty Wing, which was published by Gold Star Children's Press in 1994. It's a holy grail because it had a kind of minor blow up on the internet from about 2008 onwards, after some guy translated it in 2007. One article mentions that somebody is collecting and translating a whole load of North Korean comics and putting them in some kind of archive, and I need to find that archive. And they should really just be ported across to Comic Book Plus, I reckon, because it can be assumed that they're already in the public domain, as they're the property of all the world's downtrodden proletariat. And maybe the site can use your webcam to check if you're smoking a cigar or wearing a top hat, and if you're not, it lets you read them. Anyway, being featured on various websites with an interest in history and society and not just comics does mean they bring up some points that I probably wouldn't have bothered to consider. So the main one being that 1994 was both the year that Kim Il-sung died and also the depths of the deadly North Korean famine, which is thought to have killed about 3 million people by some estimates. Those websites are quick to lay the blame for the famine on climate change, of course. I mean, it's not like the collectivisation of agriculture has ever caused a famine before, has it? The story itself revolves around the bees, who have a queen, and Great General Mighty Wing, along with his assistant generals Zing Zing and Wing Wing. They're trying to build an irrigation canal to bring water to the Garden of 1,000 Flowers, and so restore the honey supply. Plenty of parallels with a society in the grip of famine there. And they're threatened by the dreaded wasps, who are dressed in uniforms resembling the Japanese of World War II. The wasps make an alliance with the spiders, who are meant to either be Americans or the UN, and both of them have developed a secret weapon which they can use to capture Mighty Wing. It might seem a bit strange that a North Korean comic would have a story about a society with a monarchy, even though they basically are one. But apparently the Kims have themselves presented in both paternal and maternal looking propaganda, as they're both the fathers and mothers of the state, and everything flows from them. Most other North Korean comics, or else kid and teen aimed illustrated paperbacks I've seen, are kind of scratchily printed in black and white, but this one, as you can see, is full colour throughout. It must have been a big effort to mass produce something like this in such an impoverished country, so it was obviously intended for wide distribution. Reinforcing this are little propaganda slogans down the sides of the pages, and some of the articles I mentioned suggest that some comics are distributed to schools in North Korea, deliberately targeting all of the country's children at once with some message the government wants them to hear. Mind you, there's also rumours that the comics that get out of North Korea are specially made export editions aimed at expats in Japan or China. Many of the former, in their third or fourth generation by now, have Japanese names and probably don't even speak Korean. Although the Chongnyeon organisation, which organises North Korean residents in Japan, is continuing to tick over. And it's even printed some North Korean comics in Tokyo on vastly better paper. Other exported North Korean comics are aimed at the Korean community in Yaniban in China, which is sometimes known as West Korea. And I suppose in the old days it was kind of like a little enclave of North Korea where trusted people were allowed out to do business with China, but were still watched by their overlords. Although these days I expect Yaniban's more full of BTS and Squid Game. People regularly drown or get shot trying to cross the river which makes the border from the border of North Korea and China, either trying to smuggle stuff for the black market or just to escape. And you know, it's bad when China looks like a free country by comparison, but I suppose there's still that little trusted community and they need their comics. Anyway, let's get the camera moved around and have a better look at this. Alright, sometime later, as I was recording several videos in a batch to do all at once, which explains the lighting change, we are ready to take a closer look at this. So you see here, Gold Star Children's Press, apparently, 1994, and it's got the artist and writer credited, which are something. I really should have the English translation up on my tablet while I look at this, shouldn't I? Never mind. And I believe this says Gyulim Chaeg, which is literally means picture book, but is the North Korean for comic. And the back cover with this flag, 1994 March something. It's got 2 dates, like it's a magazine or something, but as far as I know there's only 1 volume of Mighty Wing, and this is it. So anyway, as I said, most North Korean comics, and I should probably have some other examples, never mind. Wait a minute. So as I said in the introduction, a lot of the other North Korean comics, such as the Red Neckties one I featured before, and I do have another one of those I'll do one day, or the apparently youth-aimed paperbacks, are always scratchy black and white illustrations like this, and not particularly well printed either. These kind of scratchy, angry looking black and white illustrations, like whoever did it would really believe their own propaganda and was like with a pen. And more examples, some women working in the fields. Yeah, I got this in the same shop I got this one actually. But yeah, this is full colour throughout, so it must have been a big effort and expense for them to print this. It's 184 internal pages. Or do they count the covers? Oops. Oh yeah, looks like it's 184 internal pages, all full colour. And Mighty Wing is going to, and his other generals, so Wing and Zing are going to serve the Queen, and she presents them with some special weapons. I read that bit in the English translation. And meanwhile the the wasps are plotting, and the wasps are wearing the kind of uniforms like World War II soldiers from Japan. And they go and see the spiders. Where's the spiders? It's not too far into the story. I don't know, maybe. Actually, yeah, I'm guessing what I read was actually an incomplete translation then, because they met the spiders pretty early. Oh, here we are, the spiders' base, which I somewhere. The spiders' base kind of, or their flag looks a bit like the UN flag. Can't find it now. Here they are. Go and see the spiders, and the wasps team up with the spiders to bring down the bees, and the bees are building this irrigation pipe to the garden of 1,000 flowers to bring water from the waterfall. And they're going on about, we completed it ahead of schedule because we're so amazing and we all work together. Down the sides of the page here are the propaganda slogans, which all say things like it's better to kill a friend than let an enemy live. And things like that. And yeah, fighting the another war starts against the wasps and spiders. The wasps' commander's always slapping his underlings. I guess they got drunk. And yeah, some various battles, and Mighty Wing is always at the forefront of the fighting. And one of the other generals is a traitor, I think it said. And the traitor general reallocates resources from the irrigation project to doing something frivolous. And anyway, in the end, the wasps get set on fire, and Mighty Wing persuades the Queen to create a workers' collective of equality. And that's the end of that. The wasps are retreating. And the epilogue, the traitors get executed, I suppose. And Mighty Wing marches on at the head of the liberated workers' collective. So yeah, that's Great General Mighty Wing, the most famous North Korean comic, thanks to somebody translating it. And yeah, I don't know if it's actually the most famous in North Korea. It's just one that somebody got and decided to blow up its importance. Although the fact it's in full colour suggests they did put some effort into it.